I'm Mr. Parker, Mr. Scott Parker.
Mr. Scott Parker. That's nice. So, I have a question for you. Do you think people can get through life alone?
Alone. Okay, define alone. What does that mean?
Do you believe that people don't get help in life, or that
Like completely alone?
Yes.
Do I think people could get through life completely alone?
Without help or a push in a certain direction, even?
No, I don't. I don't believe that human beings were meant to go through life alone. We're social animals,
Yeah.
right? Just like what's a good example? Like wolves. Like we travel in packs, and we need people. We're interdependent on each other to survive.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine completely alone.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, there are many people who believe in that, and they believe that they can get through life completely alone. What do you think of that? And like, do you understand how people think that?
So can you give me an example of someone? Like, can you think of someone
Andrew Mitchell
thinks he can get through life completely alone?
thinks
Like,
that people get through life completely alone without no help. People get help, but like you can get through life without any help at all.
so okay, we'll use Andrew Mitchell as an example. In this lovely video of ours, he gets help, tremendous amounts of help all day, as do, by the way, probably 95% of the students here. The teachers help, his parents help, his siblings help, his grandfather helps at work, right? Think of all the people who help you every day, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons and tons of people who help you without you even realizing. So the only way to get through life completely alone is to be completely alone.
Yeah.
So we're talking about people who have made a decision to like go live in the woods and live off the land, and like it makes me think like that TV show Mountain Men. Have you ever seen this TV show Mountain Men? But even they're not alone. They have a camera crew up there with them. So do I think it's, I guess I could rephrase the answer a little. I guess it's possible to live completely alone, but boy, it would be incredibly lonely.
And like, to go with that, do you think it'd be possible to find success alone like that? You said it's possible to live alone, but is it possible to find success completely independent and alone?
You're asking rough questions, man.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it depends on how you define success.
Yeah.
So in the Western world, money in the pocket, fancy house, fancy car, you know, that kind of stuff.
Living happily, living afloat, living without worry.
So you define for me what you think of as success. What's success?
Having some money in your pocket with a happy life.
Money in your pocket with a happy life.
Steady job.
So yes, those things are doable alone. I guess, but and again, some people really are happier alone. I get that, but for the most part, getting what I would call Western success, like how we define success in Western, the Western society, money, cars, children, houses, blah blah blah. I cannot imagine, unless you like get lucky and hit the lotto, that you could do that completely alone.
Yes, I believe like people say, oh, I got my own job and everything. Like you got the job opportunity, someone was paying you.
Well, you've got an education to get
exactly,
the job,
like,
to be a whatever. But however, right, and this is a big however, if you want to define success a different way, so if you want to define success as just like having a simple life and being happy, and just having the basic necessities of life, do I think you could do that alone? Yes. Would I want to do that alone? That would probably drive me completely insane.
I'd say you can't. It's hard to do that in today's day and age too.
I think there are some examples through history of people who did some of these things alone.
Do you have any examples?
Yeah, but none of them are real sane people. All of them are really like psychopaths.
Who's that?
Like Ted Kaczynski. Do you know who that is? Ted
No
Kaczynski.
idea.
Ted Kaczynski was the Unabomber.
Oh.
Right, he used to mail people packages because he basically thought society was very messed up, and so he used to mail people bomb packages and blow them up.
Damn.
Like, and he lived in a cabin like probably half the size of this room, and all alone, and would hunt and live off the land. But again, he was a lot crazy.
Yeah.
So yes, there are some examples, I think, of people who've tried to live their lives all alone, and there are people who I'm sure live in the bush of Alaska and the bush of Australia who are perfectly happy living alone. So I never say never.
Yeah.
Is it possible to be happy and live alone? Sure. you know, that's what makes averages, you know, think,
Yeah.
there's some people who wanna live on this end of the curve all alone, and there's some people who want a million people around them and everything in
Mhm.
between, but I think it's a pretty rare person who's
Yeah.
gonna live all by themselves,
Mhm.
alone.
So, in our society,
Yeah.
do you find people ignorant who believe that they can live life completely alone without any help or even a push in a direction? I'm talking about society like Sutton
yeah.
and
I just think people are, maybe blind to how interdependent we are.
Mhm.
Like, from the moment you're born, you are 100% dependent on someone else, 100%. And every decision you make in your life affects probably tens, if not hundreds, of people without you even realizing all the people that it affects.
Mhm.
So the concept of just what you do doesn't affect people is, to me, is just false.
Yeah.
It's impossible to think.
I agree with that.
Again, unless you're going to be a bushman, but you can be. I mean, again, that's a perfectly valid choice. If somebody
Mhm.
wants to do it, go for it. But it's a pretty rare occurrence.
Do you believe that society needs to work together to be productive?
It's a nice thought, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are some cultures who do a very good job of this.
Yeah.
Our culture is not one of them. Our culture is not one of them, unfortunately.
No.
You can look at our politics in Washington. We do a terrible job of it actually right now, but there are some wonderful cultures throughout the world right now that understand interdependence is where it's at, and that people understand their role in the society and understand what they need to get done to be a productive member of that society, and everybody relies on everybody else to get their part of the puzzle done,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool.
Yes.
Have you ever lived in any place like that? Could you imagine living a place like that?
You're better off.
Like a commune, you know what a commune is? Like a hippie commune, or like something called a kibbutz in
Mhm.
Israel. Do you know what a kibbutz is? Have you ever heard of this? So a kibbutz is like the Israeli version of a commune, where everyone on the kibbutz has a job. And your job might change while you live there, but like somebody does the schooling, and somebody does the farming, and somebody does the cooking, and somebody does the cleaning, and somebody fixes the houses, and like everybody has their role, and there might be 500 people living on 50 acres of land, and everybody has to do their part in order for the society to function.
Which I think is better off.
As long as you're good at being a productive
Is it-
member,
is it-
because they'll throw you out.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't do your job, they're gonna be like, look, this is your part of the role, and if you're not unwilling to do your part, see ya,
Yeah.
get out, we're done with you. Like somebody else is gonna come in, but you always have medical care, and you always have food, and you always have shelter, and you have a group of people that you have camaraderie with, right, that you can hang around with, and you do your part, and then everybody kind of finds a way to make it and survive. It's incredibly, think about how unbelievably different that is than the society we live in. The society we live in is, you turn a certain age, go figure it out. Good luck.
Yeah.
Getting to be about your age, though, Patrick.
Yeah, about a year away.
Yeah, you're about a year away. And again, some families are tighter knit than others, right? And they stay together a long time. Grandma lives next door, grandpa lives upstairs, multiple generations live together, but it used to be that's what this country completely was, right?
Yeah.
Grandma, grandpa would live in the same house, and you might have 3 or 4 generations in the same house, and everybody helped each other. We don't live like that
Yeah,
anymore,
not at all.
which is unfortunate in my
It
mind.
really is.
So,
What's your opinion on greed? People who won't share.
greed. Again, it's interesting given the country we live in. So our country is based on an economic principle of going out and being competitive and trying to better yourself by making more money, right?
Mhm.
Greed, basically. And that drives a lot of people and drives our country and our economy to do well. So it's hard to say that some level of, I hate to call it greed, but competitiveness isn't good for us, because it also does drive the country. At the same time, like, there's also a point at which, really, how much do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Think
Yeah.
of some of the multi-billionaires in this country. How much do you really need? You don't, right? And so it's nice to hear like that Bill Gates or some of those other super rich people are giving most of their money away
Mm-hmm.
to what they perceive to be good causes. That's nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know greedy people. You must know greedy people that you're like, dude, share the wealth a little. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It's finding a balance between sharing the wealth and wanting to work hard enough to go make money. Because if, let's say I just gave you everything, Patrick. Here you go, all your food, all your clothing, you don't need to work anything. What's your incentive to work hard?
You have none.
Right, so you have to find a balance. So like our country is, we don't wanna give you much at all. Go get it for yourself, right? That's really what this country believes. Work hard and go get it for yourself. In Europe, like in Western Europe, they don't believe that. They think that you should still have to work hard, but we're gonna try to make your life a little easier. So you're gonna get things like medical care, and your kids are gonna get free daycare, and your kids are gonna go to college for free, as long as they can prove that they deserve it. That's kind of in between. And then you can go to a place like a communist country, where supposedly they just give it all to you.
Yeah.
And then there's not much incentive to work hard. What's your incentive to work hard?
There is none.
Not much. And so it's finding a balance between those.
Okay. The very last question.
Sure.
What do you do to try to help people?
Well, I like to think my job is helping people. So a lot of what I do is helping people. And I like to, generally my general philosophy is what I want somebody to do this to me, or I want somebody to be helpful to me in this way. And if the answer is yes, then I try to do what I think is right for most people most of the time. It's not always easy to do. Right?
Not at all. Yeah.
It's hard. Is that it?
Yep. Thank you very much.
Always nice, Patrick. Always nice.
Oh yeah. Let's see how long this thing is.